Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Miguel back again with another video, and a very interesting one today because I have the Nothing Phone 2A in my hands. Finally, I got it in the studio. Now, the Nothing Phone 2A is what you can consider a cheaper phone. This costs around $350. $350 translates to around 1100 dirhams. This is the official price, I think, but you can also find it for a cheaper price. I believe I saw this for about 1000 dirhams as well. Nevertheless, the Nothing Phone 2A is being compared to the Nothing Phone 1. And it's a very strategic way of doing it. It's a very smart way that Nothing is doing here, because what they're doing is they're telling them that this is a better phone than the Nothing Phone 1, which is actually is. And if you want to go ahead and buy a Nothing phone, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, some people may immediately turn to the Nothing Phone 1, considering that it's the cheaper of the two phones. But then they now introduce the Nothing Phone 2A, which is even cheaper than both of them, but also provides you better value and is probably better in every single way than the Nothing Phone 1. What Nothing did over here is that they kind of kept every major thing that the Nothing Phone 1 and the Nothing Phone 2 has, but they also kind of made some sacrifices, which I'll talk about, and that I think that's expected. So let's go ahead and unbox this, and I've already actually unboxed this phone, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it for the sake of this video. It's a very minimalistic box. I like that there's pretty much nothing, and that can be perceived in a negative way, but I just like the minimalistic, small aesthetic of the box. You have kind of the design over here, which shows you the main feature of the phone, which is the camera design on the back. Opening this up, we have a little bit of a note, a welcome from Nothing, and then you have the phone over here. You also have your cable, USB-C cable, and I like the fact that both the ends are transparent. That's a very unique touch. You have some paperwork, and then you also have your SIM pin here, which I find very cute for some reason. But let's go ahead and look at the phone. The phone is actually larger than I thought. I knew that it was a 6.7-inch phone, but I didn't expect it to be this size. And this is a full-size phone. I mean, just looking at it, it's nearly the size of the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I mean, just a little bit smaller than it. Now, looking at the design, just immediately the back camera is what kind of catches your attention over here. I think this is a design that you'll immediately love or you'll hate. There's no in between that. And I was one of those people that wasn't really a fan of the design on the back, because it kind of looks like eyes, and it also looks like Wall-E, or it looks like the Minions, and I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of covers and cases or stickers that are going to make the phone look like that. Now I'm kind of in the phase where it started to grow on me, and I kind of like it because it's a very unique look. It's different from what everyone is doing nowadays. So I think that's what kind of attracted me to this phone. And you can see that you have the transparent back, which is a signature look. You have a little bit of a glyph interface here, not as many glyphs as you see on the Nothing Phone 1 or the Nothing Phone 2, but nevertheless, you still have that functionality. And then you also kind of have this pattern on the back, which, if I'm not wrong, according to what I've read, this is inspired or designed after the subway network of New York. I don't know how true that is. That's something that I've heard about. Just looking at the overall design, this is where you can now tell that they've kind of sacrificed. The back is made up of plastic instead of glass. By looking at it, you can't tell. I thought this was made up of glass. I had no idea that this was made up of plastic until I actually felt it. But they've done a pretty good job, because it's a very shiny, almost like an acrylic type plastic on the back. But I think that you can even take it either in a negative way or a positive way, because one thing about the back is that it's not going to be as breakable as glass. And because glass obviously is more brittle, it's easier to break. I think the plastic will be more durable in the long run, so that's a good thing. The sides, although, are made up of plastic as well, but again, they've done a pretty good job at mimicking aluminum. It has a matte black finish. Overall, I really like the weight of it. I like the way that it feels in the hands. It has a slight curve on the back, which doesn't have that sharp edge, and the front actually is a flat edge display, and because of that, you have symmetrical bezels all around, and then you also have a punch hole camera in the front. Apart from that, you have your power button on this side, you have your USB-C port, you have your stereo speaker, your SIM tray, and then you have your buttons on this side, and then one microphone on top. Now, if you look at the display, this has 120 Hertz. It doesn't have nearly the amount of nits that a lot of other phones nowadays have, which is 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. But even still, for the price, you're getting a pretty bright display, which comes at 1,300 nits of peak brightness, which is not bad in my opinion. I'm not mad about that. I like the fact that you still have 120 Hertz AMOLED display, so you are getting premium display, and it's very snappy in my opinion. And I think one of the biggest selling points about the Nothing phone is going to be the overall design of it. And this is more of, you can call it a designer phone, and also the software is just very clean, very simple, which is something that I'm a big fan of. I don't like a lot of skins on top. I like to keep it simple. Another thing that you can actually do as well is change it to that monochrome theme if you want to. So you do have the option of changing it to that. When it comes to performance, that's where you kind of start asking whether you should buy this or not. This comes with MediaTek's Dimensity 7200 Pro chip. Now the 7200 chip is a chip that's been used in a lot of other phones, but it's also a chip that's been modified for a lot of other phones, and it's the same thing over here. So according to what I've read, the 7200 Pro chip has been specifically made for the Nothing Phone 2A. It's not a chip that's going to blow you out of the water. It's not something that you're going to be surprised. We did run Antutu V10 and it gave us 661,000 points. So this is a similar territory to the 778 chip on the Nothing Phone 1, which had the Snapdragon chip. But even still, I mean, I think that the reason why this is so snappy and the reason why this is so clean is because of the software. And that is something that makes the phone really, or makes the performance of this really efficient, because the software has been made in a way that it doesn't really lag or slow down the phone in any way. If you start playing heavy games, then of course you are going to see a little bit of a change over there. But nevertheless, it's not something that you shouldn't consider buying just because of that. And I think raw benchmarks are something that you shouldn't completely judge a phone over, because there's a lot of things that kind of make a phone. And I understand that performance is a big part of it, but it's not something that should be a deal breaker. I think that you can kind of get over that. Considering the price, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You also have Android 14, as I already talked about. You have Android 14 with Nothing OS 2.5 on top of this. You are familiar with Nothing OS, as you've seen with previous phones that we reviewed, and it's just a very clean, simple look. That's, I think, one of the reasons that you should consider buying this phone, just because of the way that the software is built and the way that it's actually customized for the phone. You do also get the option of 8 and 12 gigs of RAM, and then you can buy this with 128 and 256 gigs of internal storage. The battery is actually bigger than both the Nothing Phone 1 and the Nothing Phone 2 at 5,000 milliamperes, so that's pretty good. And that is because obviously you have a bigger size, so you are going to get a bigger battery. This does support 45 watts of fast charging, so from 0 to 100% in about 50 minutes or so. It doesn't have wireless charging though, so that may be something that you want to look into. And again, that's another point, or that's another thing that is a cost-cutting factor. Apart from the plastic bag and the plastic frame, it doesn't have wireless charging. So if that's something that you cannot live without, then probably look elsewhere. But if you can get over these main three things, I think this is a phone that you should consider. Now, if we go ahead and look at the cameras, we have a dual 50 megapixel camera. I first thought that this was going to be pretty much the same cameras that we saw on the Nothing Phone 2, but it's not. Two of the cameras are actually the same. So the front 32 megapixel camera and the ultra wide 50 megapixel camera are the exact same as on the Nothing Phone 2, but the main 50 megapixel camera is a different one. It's still 50 megapixels, but it's not the same. It's actually a little bit downgraded. And when it comes to the images, I did see a little bit of a lack there. I mean, you could tell that this was a cheaper camera, if that's, I don't know if you want to word it that way. But even in good lighting, there was a lot of noise, and there was places where the camera quality was kind of questionable. Nevertheless, it's still a functional camera, so you can still use it to share pictures, take pictures, document pictures, take video as well. It will do everything that you want, but it's kind of, I mean, you can kind of tell that there are a few downgrades there. And then one of the things that I did notice is that you don't have macro photography anymore. So that's one of the things that you don't get out of in the options for when you open the photo app. And that's what I meant when I was saying that this pretty much ticks all the boxes and is a very similar phone to its bigger brothers, the Nothing Phone 1 and the Nothing Phone 2, without really sacrificing the useful points or the useful features of a phone and something that you'd like to see on a phone. So you see pretty much everything that you also see on the Nothing Phone 2, but just a little bit toned down. Now, if you talk about the glyph interface on the back, you still have it, but it's not nearly as many LEDs as you see on the Nothing Phone 2. And it pretty much still has the same features where you can look at the charging, you can look at the countdown. If you put in the timer, it's gonna go ahead and do a countdown, and you can see the lighting or the LED going back. You only have 3 LEDs this time. And it's still integrated with a couple of third-party apps, which means that, for example, Uber, Zomato, and there was one more, I don't remember which one it was, but it can kind of tell you when your ride or your food is about to be delivered. So it kind of goes ahead and kind of shows you like a countdown of how close they are to getting to you. So that's pretty cool. That's still not mainstream. I think they should really work on that and integrate it with more apps. And again, guys, this is a phone that you can buy for $350. This is just around 1,000 dirhams, 1,100 dirhams, depending on the specs that you go with. And depending if you can buy this or find this on a sale, I think this is a pretty good phone. It's actually a phone that I would consider buying over the Nothing Phone 2 if I wanted to save a little bit of money. It's about $200 cheaper than that. I think that one costs around $500 or $600, somewhere between that. This costs you around $350. So it is a very, very good phone, in my opinion. Something that is fresh, something that kind of reminds you of good qualities, good features on a budget phone. And yeah, guys, those are my thoughts about this. If you are looking to buy one, I think you should get past the subpar camera, the plastic back, the plastic frame, and then the wireless charging feature. But if you can get past those 4 things, I think this is a very, very good phone that should be considered if you want one for a budget cost. Those are my thoughts on the Nothing Phone 2a. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.